It is with great pleasure that I share with you the experience of my city, Iloilo City, towards participatory development. I thank UN Habitat and Axon Johnson Foundation for the invitation to speak and participate in the Future Places Conference to present Iloilo City's people-centered approach in urban planning and development. Iloilo City is at the heart of the Philippines, a country of 92 million people in Southeast Asia. The city has a land area of 78 kilometers and a population of nearly 500,000. It is accessible by air travel from two major Asian cities like Hong Kong, Singapore, and Manila, the country's capital, with 45 minutes travel by air or within 18 hours by ship. Iloilo City sits at the edge of an island called Panay and is the region's capital with its bustling commerce and trade and host to 90% of regional national government offices, 9 universities, and the Iloilo City Community College. Iloilo City is one of the Philippines' busiest air and sea hubs today. This evolved from the trading activities of being an old port city during the 1800s and the recent rapid urbanization over the last 2 decades. The city is also the region's capital for its robust agricultural economy and an emerging meetings, investments, conventions and events, or MICE tourism destination. As city mayor, the demands and challenges for development are continuing. Restructuring of old and derelict urban spaces, developing unused lands and buildings, and building resilience to disaster risks and climate change. In facing these challenges, the city continuously looked for innovative and creative ways, and we were able to do this through inclusive, people-focused planning and management. Why the need for a people-centered approach to development? Because people are both the end and the means to urban transformation and growth, and that the most effective, efficient, and efficacious way of achieving this is when people are allowed and encouraged to take part in defining the strategies to achieve a common development vision. The sense of ownership of the people of government programs is the key to success. Participatory development, as Wikipedia defines, it seeks to engage local populations in development projects. During the first 3 years of my first term as mayor of the city, implemented was an inclusive developmental framework that puts people, especially the grassroots level, in all plans of urban transformation and growth, and with a strong sense of ownership and good governance. Under this administration, we labored to achieve a sense of pride and sense of history. In fact, my banner program is a summary of our city's tagline, "My City, My Pride." We looked back at history and started the celebration of the city's Charter Day to emphasize Iloilo's rich heritage, culture, and history. In short, Iloilo City now has its own identity. How did I get them to participate? The processes of extensive multi-sectoral identification on those who could participate are through feedbacking through surveys and comment forms, and even through social networking that has been distributed all over the city, consultation with technical experts, collaboration with existing task forces. This started in 2006 then, when I, as a city councilor, actively participated in a series of multi-stakeholder workshops with the Institute of Solidarity in Asia. This has resulted to one common vision: Iloilo City, a premier city by the year 2015. The vision thereafter became the guiding principle and attracted the private sector to become stakeholders in making the city a desirable place to live, to work, to play, and rest. The plan was to come up with a campaign slogan where everyone could rally on. It was the start of the My City, My Pride campaign, when people shared the common vision that they can call their own. The goal was also to create a culture where each and every citizen can participate and take collective ownership and responsibility for progress and development that has provided them a sense of pride. Proud of being part of the urban transformation that alleviate poverty and spur local economic development, My City, My Pride has empowered our people to participate and volunteer in sharing their talents, skills, knowledge, ideas, and resources. In 2010, Iloilo City's successful people-centered style of participative governance received an International Palladium Award for Public-Private Partnership in Urban Governance. It was my country's, the Philippines' first award on private-public partnership. Here are some of the people-centered urban development projects, which involve the public realm for key urban functions. Task forces composed of City Hall officials, village officials, civic clubs, professional groups, church leaders, academe, business associations, and other identified sectors collaborated to plan, rehabilitate, and develop new designs for the city's idle and undeveloped private and public spaces as they implement and put to productive use natural and built environments. For natural environment, the forefront of our success on the natural environment is the revival of an almost dead Iloilo Batiano River. From what used to be a filthy river, it is now unobstructed, dredged, and restored natural waterway that became a best practice model in environmental rehabilitation undertaken by the Iloilo River Development Council, composed of private and public sector representatives and chaired by the city mayor. The city's river project has won us several awards, including the Gold Award from the Livable Communities Award in Chicago in 2010, and the Special Environmental Award in Seoul, Korea in 2011. The prestige and recognition made us to host the first Philippine International River Summit last May 2012 with about 1,700 delegates coming from all over the world. We were also successful in mangrove reforestation. In partnership with the academe, college professors were able to identify and classify 22 of the country's 35 species of mangroves in our estuaries. These are now being protected by policies created by the River Council. The mangrove forest will soon be part of the city's ecotourism attraction that will be co-managed by the local Riverside Village leadership groups. Another project is the Iloilo Wetland and Bird Sanctuary that was built and maintained by the private electric utility company as part of its corporate social responsibility. The facility is now contributing to the local tourism industry and increased environmental protection awareness. The Iloilo City coastline is currently protected by special task groups, which include private sector representation. These groups design and maintain the linear parks, green belts, easements, setbacks, and buffer zones that abut natural waterways and water bodies. This slide shows the perspective of the proposed redevelopment of our southern beachfront, which will enhance the existing community-based tourism activities in the area. For built environment, the people develop a sense of pride of place and ownership. When we restored and beautified our public parks, also called plazas, there are 6 districts in the city, and each district has its own public park or square. Built in the 1500s, these plazas were components of the Spanish town planning concept called Debajo de la Campaña, under the bells, where the town's economic activities were concentrated on an area around the public space, built for the people's recreational, social, and political activities. Street configurations, public and civic buildings, residential and commercial blocks radiate from these plazas. In partnership with civil society organizations and private groups, the city government maintains these plazas for mixed use until today. The Iloilo River Esplanade is a redevelopment project that transformed a flood control easement along the Iloilo River into a 1.2-kilometer-long linear park where people converge for exercise, relax, and leisure walks. The lighted landscape, curvilinear jogging and walking path was featured during the first Philippine International River Summit as another best practice in green space development. A private group called the Healthy Lifestyle Partners conducts a daily physical fitness program at the Iloilo River Esplanade. The newly built Iloilo City Hall is a recent development that helped change the landscape of the city with its imposing structure and a bronze sculpture of the Linay, or the Lady, on its summit. The Lady reflects Iloilo City's identity of industry, resilience, productivity, a thirst for learning and nurturing. And this statue has been donated to the city. The building echoes the design elements of two neighboring heritage buildings and preserves the facade of the old building in compliance with the city's existing heritage ordinance. This building is the Philippines' first and only green building today that harnesses nature through the utilization of solar-powered air conditioning units and rainwater harvesting, among others. The establishment of the Iloilo City Community College on an irregularly shaped public land through the sponsorship of a local businessman as part of his corporate social responsibility is a fine example of how the city creatively uses urban land, regardless of size, configurations, and placement. Idle facilities and public lands are now also being developed. These include the 3,500-seat Iloilo Convention Center, which sits on an old airport strip, the Iloilo Guimaras Ferry Terminal project, which converted an unused prime land into a ferry terminal for Guimaras Island, a neighboring eco-adventure tourism, and the Downtown Central Business District Revitalization Project, which will redevelop an old public market into a mixed-use 24/7 tourism and business complex. The Downtown Revitalization Project also includes the restoration and preservation of heritage buildings at the downtown core through a private group called the Iloilo City and Cultural Council. The council includes private architects and engineers that is responsible for making cost estimates and sourcing funds for the restoration projects as another strong example of public-private partnership. As part of inclusive urban development, the city partners with national government in the purchase of private lands, which are used for the city's urban poor programs through low-cost housing projects that include adequate open space for leisure and recreation. Private corporations, non-governmental organizations, and people's organizations by the year 2020 have worked with us for 9,736 homelots and houses of our poor, and by the year 2020, Iloilo City will be free of informal and illegal settlers. The local government, in collaboration with the national leadership, has started on this somewhat ambitious but most certainly achievable project. The network of roads and builds are now being done for the APEC ministerial meeting, of which Iloilo City is going to host in 2015. And in conclusion, let me say that people are empowered when they see and feel that things get done according to their expectations. Participation plays an integral part in the growth and development of a city. Getting all sectors of society together to chart a city's future is a good starting point for any urban transformation. Iloilo City's experience with the formula ownership, pride, participation proved that people participation can be realized and can bring about positive change. The components of this formula are sequential. We can only generate people participation when the sense of pride and the sense of ownership are imbibed by a citizenry which is conscious and proud of its culture, heritage, and history. This sense of pride and ownership can only be achieved when the citizen believes and works for government agenda, programs, and direction. Today, before this very assembly, the people of Iloilo City, Philippines have committed to rally behind the call, to dream with one vision, to walk towards one direction, and to work in one action. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you learned something from my presentation. Dakbanwa, sang Iloilo, bugal ko, my city, my pride. Pleasant morning to each and everyone.
Thank you.